Good afternoon. Today is, it is January 27th, and it's time for office hours. We're here to talk about SEO and all kinds of things. I threatened everybody uh, last week, or I should say, I encouraged everybody last week to think about where they were in the process that is Curious Ants. There are several steps that make up the SEO process that is Curious Ants, and the idea is you work through the steps and you eventually you get everything you need set up and you kind of get a little process going. So I said, well, let's just start next week with where we are on the process. So I also have to admit that I had to start the process myself a couple weeks ago because I realized I was neglecting my own SEO efforts and I wasn't treating myself as a client. So the process I am in is really in the very beginning where I'm doing the overview keyword research and the what we call the SEO blueprint, which is kind of where what every page is focusing on and what SEO keywords and topics are going for each page. So that's where I am, which is pretty early in the process. Being the author of the process, it's pretty embarrassing. So who wants to be the next example of where we are in the processes?
Well, I did set up my Google business a couple of weeks ago. So.
Oh, good. That's pretty good. And you're about halfway through the first step. It's like the local listing step.
Yeah, step number 9. But the keyword part I played around with, but I haven't really. I started a blog writing, but sure. I realized I need something catchy for people to even read it, like in the title.
Cool.
So that's as far as I've gotten with that.
Okay, the local listings. That's really good. That's starting to make some progress. Who wants to volunteer to be next? Okay, Allie.
I won't. I would say my progress is sort of like not comprehensive. Like I've gone through a lot of different steps. Like I did keyword research, we updated some of our site. We're more focused on our blog content, but I have not done that for like the entirety of our webpage.
Okay.
Just because it's a lot to go through, and SEO is not the only thing that I'm responsible for. So it's something where we are trying to focus on things that we post a lot and things that we do and make them more SEO centered, like trying to focus on topics that are popular, topics that are getting a lot of traffic. And then if we are thinking about introducing something new, then we do answer the public searches and keyword searches to see what kind of language we should be using. We actually had a whole series that we kind of reworked because the language that we were using was really not what people were searching for. It was much more technical sounding and people were not searching for that. So we changed it and got better results that way.
Great.
So I would say, we do our analytics every week and everything. So I would say we sort of intermittently do almost everything, but we don't comprehensively do anything.
Okay, that's good. I really, Allie, I think one of the things you do really well is use data to inform your decisions.
Yes, and that's what we try to do
really well.
Because honestly, like that's the easiest thing to do, to just look and see, okay, well, this is what people are interested in. Let's do more of that.
Yeah. And that's why we start the process with setting up Google Analytics and things like that. So you have data. So we're not going, oh, what keyword do I want to rank for today? And you end up chasing things. I had a client one time, and then every week they call me and like, okay, we don't want that keyword anymore. We want this keyword, and I want to rank for that now instead. And we're just like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah, because really part of
how this
what
works at all.
Research showed us is that there's not much we could add to our website itself to make us a higher rank, except for maybe trying to mention our state, New Jersey, more. Really, what is going to give us a higher rank is our whatchamacallit. Oh my God, I'm losing the word. This is the kind of word, like our authority level.
Right.
So that's what we're focusing on,
Right.
is trying to put quality blog content out there, be referenced by other industries, adding we just added a couple of logos to our site that were like qualified providers by the Council of Autism Services and like things like that, to increase our authority, because right now that's probably the thing that's hindering us the most as far as ranking goes, because we just need to get our name out there a little bit more. And the only, like, based on what we saw with the keywords, really the only way to do it is to increase our authority.
There you go. Yeah. And I remember when we had that one conversation a while back where it was like, oh no, where am I getting this traffic? And the answer was, you wrote a really good blog post and someone was linking to it.
And we still, that one blog post consistently gets double-digit visits every week.
Yeah.
So now we did a webinar on it. We did a bunch of other things that we're trying to capitalize on that, because apparently we're the only people talking about it. So
yeah, and to me, honestly, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but the blog's value is things like this.
yes,
Throwing things out there, almost seeing what sticks. With a little research, what are people wanting to know? And you find something that works really well and you double down.
Yeah.
Double down on it, right?
And that's really what we're doing.
Webinar from it, right? You know,
we're revamping our social media, seeing what gets the most traffic, what gets the most interaction, you know, getting that feedback from a family telling us that the reason they came to us is because they saw that we highlight our employees on social media and we share and like that is that's something that we thought was high value to employees, but didn't think that it would be high value to families. But it is, because they see that our employees are happy and valued, and so therefore they want to do business with us. So that's something we're doubling down on also.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So where are we all going to be next week?
Like the exact same place we are right
now. No. So
well, I mean, this week,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, well, I think me and Allie should be going back over our 6-month thing that you have here. You said we should check it every 6 months. So this month is the 6th month. I went back over. That's kind of where one of my questions came from.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a great transition. So go ahead and ask your question, Lavanya, because I think that's a really important question.
What we're really supposed to be looking for when we do our if we're supposed to be checking it every 6 months.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to be going back looking for?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here comes Steffi. We're going to admit Steffi here real quick while we're doing this. But I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump into your question. Hey, Steffi. We are already recording, so mind your P's and Q's. So the question we're addressing is, sometimes when you go through the process, some of these steps say review every 6 months. And so what do you do about that? So for instance, like the first step of the process is set up and verify Google Analytics, and it says review it every 6 months. So what I've done within each of these is, if you go to the bottom of the page, after all the steps of the process, it tells you what I'm recommending you do every 6 months. So I'm not saying every 6 months you have to repeat the entire process. Sometimes you will, like when it's review a page that you've optimized. I think it's like once every 2 or 3 months. So in that case, what I'm suggesting you do, it'll tell you specifically what you should do every 6 months. So in this case, if you, after 6 months after you set up analytics, hey, it's worth your time to make sure Google Analytics is set up on every page of your site. And step 3 above tells you how to do that. You can also take a moment to make sure you're excluding all internal traffic. Also, and this is learning from experience, make sure that you're the only one who has access, or there's no strangers that have access to your Google Analytics account. This is especially true when you're managing a client and you want to make sure that, hey, you know who, and the client knows who has access to their data. This data is a resource that is worth money, and is people need to make sure they understand who has access. Is it an employee who's no longer working with you anymore? If they're working for a competitor, you better make sure they don't have access. Or if they left under bad circumstances, God forbid they figure out they have access and do damage to your data. So point is, for Lavania's question here, with each step at the bottom of the process, I outline what I think you should do every 6 months. So that the idea here is, hey, just every 6 months, go in here, do a real quick check a couple of these things. Some of them are more involved. Like there's a couple pieces of the process that repeat every Monday. Like check your Google Analytics dashboard every Monday. Check your Search Console every Monday. Okay, that is a little bit more involved, but that's where you're going to start to see things like, oh, something went wrong, or in the case of Allie, something went really, really right that we totally didn't expect, right? And then she was able to double down and work with that. So in the processes, SEO is never done, right? You can complete every single step of the game plan and not really be done with SEO, because you're going to need to make sure things are kept up. And I've tried to include under each process what you can do to review it every so often. Does that answer your question, Lavanya? Any other questions?
Yes, it does.
Any other questions as you've encountered these? Okay, well, from that, I think Lavanya had a really great second question that really applies to people who are managing several clients. And you're asking about the best way to keep track of several Google Analytics accounts.
Mm-hmm.
What is the problem you're encountering, Lavanya?
Well, like I was gonna do another one to keep let's see, as I go through this to keep it in memory to study. So I was gonna do another one. So let's say it's mine, but let's say even if it was somebody else's or two other people, how do I keep track of, we have this whole list of steps to go through, but I got to sign into each Google Analytics account every time for each person? Or is there a way that's all in one and I can just look at it, or just manually log into each account and look at and review everything?
Okay, so are you asking how to easily log into all these different accounts, or are you asking how to follow the process with each of the accounts?
Let's say we went through all of the process. Now
Okay.
I gotta worry about going through like checking their we got to do every Monday, the Google Analytics dashboard and all that gets emailed to us. How do we keep up with all this information that's coming from maybe several other places,
Okay.
if that makes sense?
Yeah. So this reminds me of something have had queued up to do with the game plan for a little bit and haven't gotten to yet. I use Trello as a project management system for all of my clients. And what I do is I create a Trello board for every client. And within the Trello, actually, I think I described this somewhere on Curious Ants. I'll find it for you. If I haven't, then I will point it out to you. But what within each Trello board for each client, I have things I'm doing, things I've done, things I'm going to do later, and things I need to remember. Things I need to remember. The client's email address is this. This is their phone number. This is their cell number. This is their birthday. things I need to remember. Never use passive voice when writing a blog post, right? Those kinds of things that I need to remember. Those go in the remember list. There's a doing list of active tasks. And then there's a waiting list. Like if I've sent some content to a client to approve, I move the Trello card in there. Anyway, I use Trello to manage everything. And so when I go through each client, I open up their Trello board. And one of the things I have in the Trello board is a list to the SEO process spreadsheet that I've created for each individual client. And in that spreadsheet, you can, once you do a task, you insert the date, and then you can sort by date, and it tells you what the next thing to do is. That's one way I keep track of where I am with every client. I have one of those spreadsheets for every client, and I just when it's time to work on the client, I open the spreadsheet, see what's next up on the list. So hopefully, creating a spreadsheet from the SEO game plan spreadsheet for each client will help you remember where you are for each one.
Okay.
But then if you're in the middle of a process and haven't completed it, then I would use Trello and say, hey, David, you only did the first 3 steps and you got to continue with step 4 when you get back to this client later, or something like that.
So is that also how you keep up with the weekly reports that come to your email?
With that, when they come in the email, one of the first things I do on Monday morning is I'm reading all those reports.
All of them. Okay.
Right. So I might not wait until it's time for the client to work on that just to review it, because once you get used to reviewing those reports, you kind of learn to see, oh, everything's okay. I'm fine. I'm moving on. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal, is to kind of find problems through either Search Console or the dashboard, fix them so they no longer show up in the dashboard, pardon me, or Search Console. So that every time you get it, there's a little less to do. And eventually those weekly tasks become, yep, everything looks okay, moving on to the next thing. Okay. That's my goal. Or in some cases, like I've noticed that, oh, the page speed's pretty slow. Okay, then it's a weekly reminder. I still got to go back to page speed. Does that help you, Lavanya?
Yeah, it gives me an idea. So whenever I get to that point, I'll know like how to be organized and keep up with it.
Yeah.
But do you also share, like, I think it's the place, if I'm not mistaken, within Google Analytics, there's a place where you can share the report. So you share that with your client too. And so that way both of you have a report.
Yeah, I don't share the weekly dashboard with clients.
Oh, okay.
The weekly dashboard is a little too frequent to show success, but it does a good job showing problems. Oh no, something's wrong and I need to fix it. One part of the process is sending an automated monthly report to the client. Okay. And that I recommend you start by using brain fart. What's the system that I'm recommending you use? Google Data Studio. And you can integrate that with Google Analytics. And once a month, you can receive that report. It can automatically be sent to your boss. It could automatically be sent to each of your clients individually. And so at the bare minimum, once a month, they get like a status update. Hey, here's how much traffic and how many customers you've gotten as a result of what we've done. The taking that a step further and providing some analysis is where that becomes really valuable. But that is what I make sure clients get every month, as a reminder of, hey, I'm working for you, and hey, it's working. Something's happening. Not every month is always up because things happen, but the trend should be overall things improving.
You mentioned Google Data Studio. I haven't gotten to that in the process. Do you have like a template in there for us?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
What I'd like to mention, though, I think you forgot to mention, David, she asked a question about how to access all these different Google accounts, right? Does she know how to combine, how to give herself access to all their accounts so she can easily go back and forth between?
Yeah, to put them in one email is, I think, what you're talking about.
Is that what you're asking, Lavanya? How to manage a bunch of accounts within Google Analytics?
And Search
Okay, I
Console.
totally went off on a different tangent, didn't I?
Yeah.
She asked that too, though.
I'm sorry. So when it's really important when you're managing several Google Analytics accounts to, and this is where nomenclature gets a little confusing because of what Google Analytics calls a Google Analytics account. So every different website that tracks through Google Analytics gets an account number, right? And you create a Google Analytics account and it has an account number. But when you manage many, many different Google Analytics accounts, you should be set up where by logging into your Google Analytics account, you list all the Google Analytics accounts of your clients. That's where the word account gets a little confusing because you as a service provider or a manager of several websites have an account. You also have several different accounts to manage. So the best practice is have an account for yourself and ask your clients to grant you access to each of their accounts rather than having them give you their Google password to get into their Google account. Steffi, do you have a better way of explaining that than I am?
I usually do it for them. I get their Google login with them so we can, because it'll send a code to verify and I need that code right away. So them on the phone and I get in and then I add myself as a user, and then do it for them because I don't think they know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I keep all these reports in a folder so I can look back at past ones because Google Analytics doesn't save the last before 30 days, right? So all these reports are very helpful over time, right?
It should save at least 6 months of data.
Really? I thought it's limited to 30 days now. They like changed it. Like if I go back and look at web analytics and I choose the dates to change it, because it usually only does a week. And then the farthest back I can go is 1 month, 30 days.
Is anybody else seeing that in their Google Analytics account? I remember when Google did a change of the data storing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you're referring to. And I set mine to maximum.
Oh, you did? Where is that then?
I don't even remember because it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, I thought they changed the data storing to 30 days and I didn't know how to change that.
So I think there's a setting to change the number of days you save your data. 30 days is really, really
Oh, to save your data?
in Google Analytics.
Yeah, like when I go view data and you can choose in the upper right hand corner how many to go back for.
Yeah.
That's 30 days is the max what I get.
Yeah, because I have some, maybe this is something with new accounts created, but I have some legacy accounts and I can literally go back.
When you're saying
7
30
years.
days, what I want to make sure what you're looking at. Is this like you're at the Google Analytics home and looking at like just like the first thing I see is like,
I can share my screen.
Yeah, I want to see what you're talking about so I make sure I know what we're.
Okay, hold on. There we go. Now we got it.
Okay. So share screen. So here, this date, I can choose last 30 days.
Okay.
But if I customize, let me see if I can go back further. to,
Just do 2019.
well, let me. Oh, it will let me. Okay, I thought it was limited to 30 days.
Yeah, the drop down is limited to 30 days, but
And
you
can
could
continue
put, you could, yeah, heck, put 2010 just to see what happens. It might take a long time to load, but
2010, 2010.
oh, or 2015 or something. But I wouldn't do compare to,
Yeah.
and just see how long it takes to load. Okay, so there is a
Oh.
finite point, but it's way back in 2018.
Yeah.
So you only can go as far as back as 2018
Well, I'm wondering if it's when she got you know, when she started
when she set it up. Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Does
Oh,
it
but
say?
you have other data that goes back past 2017.
Yeah, 2017 on the user's part.
Well,
Yeah.
that's because you set up your contact us goal around 2018.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. Whew.
Okay, good. Okay.
I thought I was taking crazy pills for a second there.
Sorry.
No, that was a good question. So, Lavanya, I feel like we've danced around your question, but I don't feel like we've answered it yet.
Let me see if I understood what you all were saying. So basically, let's say I'm getting clients and they don't have, let's say I'm creating their site and I'm going to add Google Analytics setup. I can go ahead and add them myself. But let's say they come into me, they already have their website up, but they just want some assistance with SEO. So then that's when I either ask them or to grant me access within Google Analytics if they know how to do it, or work with them to grant myself access within their Google Analytics to get access.
Yes.
As a user, I
Let
think.
me show you an example.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
I'm going to do my personal, just so. All right, so we're going to go and share screen. Okay. Boy, that's just really all. This website doesn't even exist anymore. Okay. So I have, let's just go to Dizzy Soft, good old Dizzy Soft. I haven't even looked at this analytics for a long time, but this was my main website for many years. Okay, so this is my site. Let's pretend this is my main site, and I want to add a new account. Someone's never had Google Analytics before. I need to set them up. What I would do is go to admin from my account, and I'd go to create account. This is really important because this creates a new account for them and data in their own account. What sometimes people do, and it's a mistake, is they create a new Google Analytics property, but then it's always and forever associated with their account.
Mm-hmm.
I think those of us who've been around web dev for a while, we've seen people, like let's say a web developer just creates a new property for their clients, and then they move on to another. Well, guess what? Now you don't have complete control of your Google Analytics account.
Yeah.
So do your clients justice. Let them own their own data. Create an account for them. And then you can go and fill this all out. Then once they have an account created, you can then go to user management and add them as a user, and you can set the settings with which they can access the account. You want them to be able to manage users. That way they theoretically could knock you out of the account you've created for them because it's their data.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't be a jerk about this. This is their business asset. They should own it. That's my professional opinion.
So I can
But
do, oh, go ahead.
yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, so I can do this up, what you're showing me is if I was in my own main account and I had a
Right.
customer, I will go in and click create account and put that customer's information in there to set them up.
Right. Right. Right.
And they wouldn't have to do anything on their side.
Right. They wouldn't have to do anything. You had set up and everything. It'd give you a new Google Analytics code to add to the site and everything. If they already have a Google Analytics account, they need to log into their Google Analytics account, go to admin, go to their account user management, and then add you as a
Okay.
user. Now, this protects them and their data because they will own the account and they're granting you access to it. So it's better for them to do this. They will always be confident in their data. If they stop working with you, they will still own their data and still have access. And this is what Steffi was saying, is that sometimes because people have a hard time doing this, she will just go ahead and create a Google account and create this for them, grant herself access, grant the client access to that. That's a way of doing it. Sometimes that's an easier way of doing it.
Yeah, if they don't have one, definitely.
Yeah, than to try to teach someone how to grant access. Now, what I did is I created a one-page document and I PDF'd it and I send it out. And every time I get a new client, I say, please add me to your Google Analytics. Here's the step-by-step directions on how to do it.
Yeah, I did a video
I
for mine too, because a lot of people want to see it. So I did a video and then I have text with it.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a great use of video in that way. But
And
those
then
are the
Google
two
Search Console, you have to do that for as well, right?
I'm sorry?
You have to do Google Search Console as well, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
go Tag Manager if you, yeah.
Yeah. So we go to Search Console. Hey, look, there's DisySoft. I'm surprised how much traffic the site's getting. You can add a property if you need to add somebody, but you can also, in the upper left-hand corner,
Upper right-hand corner?
I said left, but I meant right, but I don't think that's where it is.
Other left?
No, I think it's at the end at the. Oh.
No, there is a way. Oh, yeah. There is a way
Is it
to
on the
add
bottom
someone
left?
to your Google Search Console account.
I think it's the bottom left.
Yeah, in the bottom, like
You're right.
yeah, similar to the other.
Users and permissions. There you go. So then you can add users.
Yeah.
So this is again a way of preserving their control of it and they're delegating to you if they already have it. The advantage is someone already has it and they delegate access to you rather than starting over is you have historical data, which would be really valuable. Especially when it comes to SEO, when sometimes they'll hire you because something went wrong and you'll really want that historical data. If you create a new account, it starts over the data and then you won't have insight into what happened in the past.
And that's also why businesses want to have their own, because I've had before where the business, I started working with them and I wanted access to Google Analytics. And like, well, we didn't set it up. We have no idea that was somebody else and we aren't in touch with them.
Yeah.
To start, you have no historical data.
Yeah.
I create a password protected Word document with all the clients' logins and password protect it with they choose the password, something they normally use. I write it down in my login sheet so I know how to get access to it again too if I need to. And I provide that with them during the training at the end of the website when it goes live to say, these are your logins. You don't need to contact me anymore. You have it all in here. You just need to remember the one password to open it up. And if you forget, let me know. But I'm not going to create this over and over again or give people over their logins piecemeal. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's a pain and
It-
wasting my time.
It's
Yes.
$50 every time, and it goes up by $50 every time. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have to write that one down, David.
It costs you $1,000 to get access to your passwords because you've asked me too many times.
Yeah.
I've got one of those, and I tell mine a lot of times to get a password keeper. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, just get yourself a password keeper. You remember one, and you can use it for all your stuff. And I have one, but then they still ask me for their password. I'm like, if you have one, why are you not using it?
Yeah.
At my previous job, I used to joke that 75% of my job was just resetting people's login information.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I have a friend who works in cybersecurity at Bank of America, and he says that one of the things he does is, identifying how they got hacked or if they got hacked. And he says the first thing hackers do when they go to a new computer is they look for a Word document or an Excel sheet called passwords.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing they do, because that's the treasure trove, and that's what everybody calls it. And they
Yeah.
find it, and there you go.
Yeah.
So please use LastPass or something like that. That's
Or password protect the document, right? And that
something like LastPass has several advantages, including like LastPass doesn't even get to see all your passwords. It's so double encrypted. And it's in the cloud, so like you can use it on your phone, you can use it on your iPad, you can use it on your computer. I hired a new employee. I just granted that person access to passwords. They don't even get to see the passwords. They just have to use LastPass to log in. It doesn't even show it what it is.
Yeah.
And now if I no longer work with that person, I don't even have to change the password because they never could see it.
Yeah.
But yes. So Lavanya, did that answer your question?
Yes.
And if we didn't answer your question, you can say no.
It did. I'm gonna practice it, and then you'll see if I come back with more questions.
Oh no, please do, please do. So I am concerned about this first question you asked, which is creating a blog post with a title, but it's not published.
Okay, let me see how I can explain that.
Yeah.
I made a title for it, but it wasn't published at the time that it was looked at. So
Okay.
basically it was, but I think, because I'm testing out a new company with maintenance, and I think they went in to look at it. Maybe that's why it's showing up in Google Analytics. I don't know if it's showed up on the staging sites either. I don't know if they went to look at the staging part of it, because it may have showed up that way too, because I have websites that's my current website, I have different stages of it. So they may have went and looked and checked that way, but this happened like last month. But when I went to check it again to see if I could get a screenshot of all of them, but it's about gone. So I guess it's because when I allowed them to go in and look at it, that's why it pulled up on Google Analytics possibly.
So if I'm understanding you right, the issue is you had an article you started but didn't publish, but you saw the URL in your Google Analytics report. And that made you worry that somehow it had gotten published accidentally?
Or how did they get access to it?
Yeah.
But I think it may have been on the back end with the maintenance company, possibly.
So this is an interesting issue, and I wonder if this is more of a WordPress issue. Did you use the preview to preview a post after, just to look at it before you published it?
But this was created like months and months ago.
Sure.
And it was looked at around December. And it showed up on my report. But I was gonna ask you about it, but then I figured, well, maybe it's because the maintenance company I'm looking at or testing out, maybe they went in to look because I gave them permission, so maybe they went in to look and see what all I had and what they were going to be backing up and working with possibly.
Okay. Are you familiar with the difference between how WordPress handles drafts and publish on posts?
Not clearly.
Okay, so when you write a post in WordPress, you have a choice at the top. You can save as draft, or you can publish it.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, but I don't
Okay.
think I published it because it's just a title. And what I did was at first, because I was rearranging my homepage and I was going to put like featured blog posts on there. So
Yeah.
I made like a module that had that title. So could that possibly be it too?
That could be. It could be linking to it even though it doesn't exist.
Okay.
So what I was going to do is suggest you check go back to that month in Google Analytics. Can you share your screen?
I gotta find it first, but yes, I can
Okay.
share.
Well,
But I took a screenshot of it. I meant to send you an email of it.
yeah.
But basically, yeah, I clicked on the link, but it took me to like a blank page with just like it just said blog.
Right. So what I would we're gonna tie things up here real quick, but what I would do is go into your Google Analytics and into your behavior report, and then look at site content, and it should list all the pages that have had page views recently. Change your date to the month in which you saw that. If it was December, just change it to the month of December. And then you should see that URL again. If you do see the URL again, set the secondary dimension as page title. What this will do is it'll show you your URL, and next to it, it'll show whatever you've set your page title to be. And I suspect that your page title says page not found, which suggests to me that somebody, maybe it's the thing that you added it to your homepage and you set the link, but the page didn't exist yet. That is someone clicking on that and going to a page that didn't exist. If the page title, according to Google Analytics, says something besides page not found, then it might be you accidentally published it at one point, just published it blank, and then you just never updated and you've updated the draft. That can happen. We kind of get in this little routine where like, okay, and you accidentally hit the publish and you didn't realize it. That might have happened. That can I do that sometimes. But that's how I troubleshoot that. But it sounds to me like the blog sharing feature, if the feature on your homepage lists that blog post, even though it doesn't exist yet, that might be creating that link.
Okay, even though it's in staging, because it looks like Google Analytics looks at my staging also up under the host name.
There you go. Yeah. So Google Analytics doesn't know on which website it is. Well, I'm sorry, it does know, but whether or not it's on your staging or not, it's going to show page views from staging and page views from your live site. So that's one of the things in the weekly report. We have a section for host name.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see your staging server under your host name report, that means Google Analytics is being sent data for page views on your staging server.
Is there any way you can change that?
You can take Google Analytics off your staging server.
Okay.
And then it's when you push it forward, make sure you put Google Analytics on your main site once you push it out.
Okay.
Be careful about staging servers. They're super powerful. They're super awesome, but you need to password protect them, because if Google finds your staging server, you're going to have 2 copies of your website, and Google's going to try to figure out which one it wants to serve. And it might serve the wrong one.
Oh, I'm sorry, David, say that again. So like if we're doing a staging site,
Yes.
we need to password protect the
the staging server.
Yeah, I realized that when I Googled my site, it was showing staging too. So I had to go back in and put it password protected on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but then sometimes things don't work. So you might, like, if you do a page speed test, you'll
Right.
have to unpassword protect it, or
Did-
screenshot testing, or connecting it to some API. You'll have to turn off the password protection to connect things and then turn it back on. It's a pain, but
It is.
Okay. Does having it when you're working on it and staging not indexed, does that help at all with what we're talking about at all?
It will, but the best
still
case
find
is
it.
always to password protect it.
they
Okay.
still found it. I
Okay.
I had mine discouraged and they still find them.
Yeah.
I'm
Also,
really adamant
the
with my
worst.
developers about it.
Yeah. Yeah. The best thing to do is password protect it.
Okay.
It can still find it, like Steffi's saying. The worst case scenario, however, and I've seen this so many times, is you push it from staging to live and you forget to turn that feature off. Like literally the first thing I check when I look at a new client site is that is it allowing search engines to index the site, because it's so often like hilarious. My church was like, "Oh, David, will you take a look at our site? We're not getting any traffic." Literally logged in. That's the problem. You know, wow, you're amazing, David. Well, no, I pushed a button.
So yeah, now that you say that, and state before I password protected my site, staging was coming up. So it could be that maybe somebody did look at it through staging.
Okay.
Okay.
You can also do a secondary dimension of host name, and that'll tell you on which host, meaning your main site or staging, that page view occurred.
Okay.
So when we add the password protectant, that's like in our host where we're doing that in our website.
Right. So if you have an Apache server, you're going to want to do an Apache password. cPanel, in your cPanel, usually there's a way to do that. But if you use a system like WP Engine, Steffi, you probably know this more than me. I presume you'd have to go through WP Engine and ask them to set up a password on your staging server.
No, you can go to utilities in the
Okay.
user portal.
Okay.
And then for SiteGround, it's security.
Okay.
It's real easy.
Okay. Yeah, be sure to do that.
Okay.
Or you get weird data.
Well, thank you.
Right. Well, I got to get going. Thank you for your great questions, Lavanya.
You're welcome.
Don't hesitate, bring them forward. Don't wait months before you ask your question. All right. Well, I hope you all have a great week. We'll
You
talk
too.
to you soon.
Bye.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.